Hello, it's Danielle Tully of eXp Realty today. Ruth will be joining me soon, hopefully, because sometimes duty calls and sometimes that duty is work and sometimes it is our families. And she is currently in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee trying to get her son to baseball and do all the motherly things as well. But today we want to talk about arms on the rise. And we've always talked about a lot of acronyms when it comes to real estate, and ARM is yet another one. And we haven't really talked about it because it hasn't been something that's been really prevalent for, let's see here, about 17 years now. Probably mid 2000s is the last time we saw a bunch of ARMs. And ARMs are adjustable rate mortgages. So mortgage applications, first of all, are still happening. People are still out there buying. And part of it's been last week, it's up 8% over the week before. So we do have people who are getting into the summer and going, okay, I have not bought anything because the market was so crazy, but we still need to move. We still want to buy something. And they're worried about rates going higher. So a lot of people are going out now going, okay, maybe that if they're hearing about the options of, that less people are out there looking, this is the time for them to go out buy. So there are still buyers out there. Don't believe all the hype that you're hearing. But one of the things that is happening is that, like in January, an adjustable rate mortgage was about 3% of the loans out there. Now, just over the last 2 weeks or so, that number has jumped up to 10%. Loans and pricing is still obviously not where it was 6 months ago, but it still is less than it was, again, 15 years ago. But this adjustable rate is very intriguing to people because it is a lower rate. Back then, as always, a lot of loans were very easy to get. They have changed the stipulations, though, this year. Or this last couple of years, and they're trying not to repeat their mistakes. But what people are thinking about adjustable rate mortgages is that in some cases, they can be as low as a whole point less than a traditional, conventional FHA, whatever type of loan somebody may be looking for. So when you think of adjustable rate loans, mortgages, they talk about them sometimes in, you might see a 3-1, 5-1, 7-1. And it's usually like a hash. So it's like 3/1, 5/1. So basically what that's telling you is that the type of loan and the terms. So an adjustable rate mortgage is what you kind of can think about it as. It's not fixed. So all of these loans that have been going on, a majority of them have been 3%, 4%, 5%. I think the average right now is 5.1% for a fixed rate. Here comes Ruth for a fixed rate. Hello.
Here I am.
Hi, you're here. So I was just talking about how I was going to explain what a 3-1, a 5-1, 7-1 adjustable rate mortgage is. And I was saying that the current mortgage is about 5.1, and that's traditionally for a fixed interest rate. So for the length of your loan, for 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is, 15, you know the interest rate for that time being. For an adjustable rate mortgage, that would be anywhere between 3 to 10 years is usually where these adjustable rate mortgages land. And that's what that first number is, the 3, the 5, the 7, the 10. That is the amount of years that you have that mortgage rate. So it's seeing, again, obviously the shorter term, the better the rate is going to be. So it might be as much as 1.5% less than the a traditional fixed mortgage, fixed rate is. But that number after it, that 1, that indicates after that many years has passed, how often the rate can change. So if today you got a 5-1 ARM, well, that's what they call it, 5-1 ARM, you would have 5 years at, I'm throwing out a rate here, 4.1. In 5 years' time, if rates have gone up, you once a year, your mortgage company can change what that rate is, what that interest rate is. If it could be, something large, like, well, I've said 4, so it could go up to 6, 6.5, 7, 8. There are often a cap on that, and we'll get into that in a moment. But if interest rates go down, that 1 year, it might be less. There's a bonus. So, and they can't do it constantly. So that's why it's the once a year, until you basically pay it off or refinance it. There are caps you need to know between these. So the caps, so each lender is going to be different.
And there are risks, and they're less risky than they were 20 years ago, when I think they were probably maybe not introduced, but they were very popular for a while.
Absolutely. You have, well, in here's story time. I'll bring it up every once in a while, that when we bought our first house, we did go with an 80-20, which is a whole nother thing, but we had a fixed rate. There were a ton of people in my neighborhood who had these ARMs. And we had the same intention. Everybody, because we were young 20-somethings, going, we're having a starter home. We have our townhouse. We'll be here for a couple years, sell it a wonderful increase, and get our home for when we're about to have families or whatever. And then the values went.
So you and we did it a couple of times, just as a refinance tool. We gambled, and on that particular thing, we won. So as rates went down from 7s when we bought our house to mid 5s, we were able to refi a couple of times with ARMs that never matured. And then we were able to lock in when rates hit 5.5, which was super low. And everybody said we'd never see that again. So for us, it worked out well just because of timing. But for many, many people, that contributed to people losing their homes in the crash.
Correct. So, I mean, there are definitely times where this makes sense, but you just want, is always, right? We're letting you know about the options out there, but we always want to let you know that pretty much with every risk comes, or potential reward comes a risk as well. And
they have a few more safeguards than they did then.
They do. But I mean, what happens if life changes in 5 years, 7 years?
Yes.
You might not be in the financial position to refinance, because a lot of people were like, oh, well, there were some people, like you said, you refinance. Well, what happens if you do not have the ability to, what happens, God forbid that
what happens if your value goes down, or you lose your job, or
your credits
need credit
for whatever reason. There's a lot of variables, and yes, you'll have a house, but once that rate clicks and changes, it's, to me, I kind of see it as a seller finance or rent to own option.
Right.
Where you go, oh, this is going to be the rate. And then both sides are thinking that it's a good deal for them in the future. But oftentimes one benefits and one doesn't, and the whole thing is a disaster. So there are a couple things to know, though. If you are interested in an adjustable rate mortgage, because that's truly the only way or the best way for you financially, even if, in a worst case scenario, there are a couple things to look at. So there is the initial cap, there's the subsequent cap, and then there's the total. So clearly the initial is kind of what is your rate going in, and how does that compare to if you had a conventional loan or another type of loan, a fixed rate loan, how does that compare? And you have to, weigh the pros and the cons with what your mortgage might be and things like that.
I would say that the risk that you're taking on needs to be offset by considerable savings, and also that you should be very careful not to be at your max.
Correct. Yes. And especially if it's a new construction or something that there's other factors out of your control, like not knowing what the property taxes might be in the end or something like that. If there's other variables going around with the house, that's also something you want to consider. So there's subsequent caps, which is that one every year cap. There are often caps of how much it can go up or fluctuate. I shouldn't say go up, but fluctuate, what an adjustment is. And then there's the total, which again kind of says that if you're paying 4% now, again, just throwing out a number, that no matter how many adjustments they have, quarter of a point, half a point, up, down, whatever, that it can never go above a certain amount. Excuse me. So those are all things that when considering, you want to talk to your lender and get a full picture of what it is they are trying to, provide you, and what your total risk could be. Because as Ruth said, if you're at top of your market, top of what you can afford, and a potential number 2-3%. I mean, we've been talking about this for 6 months. Interest rates have pretty much doubled-ish. What somebody could afford at the end of December is $500-$600. If they were to buy the same house today, a $500-$600 payment a month increase. That would be the same with this potentially. Might be several $100s every single month that you would increase, and you weren't even, expecting that. So, but there, if you truly are going to be a short-term buyer and have a contingency plan, and that this is not going to be the end of the world if you, if something were to go wrong in your plan, absolutely, go for it. If
you're a super disciplined person who will take that savings and put it in savings,
absolutely,
then it's a really great option. If you're not, you need to know yourself and maybe your partner,
yeah.
and understand that it can be risky, even with the additional safeguards that are in place.
Absolutely. So adjustable rate mortgages are making a comeback, it seems. They have their definite advantages as far as rates go, but as always, they have a little bit of a risk. But I am sure that if you need to look into that, if you're looking to buy, we have fantastic lenders that can walk you through that and the risks and the rewards and all of your options to make sure that you can still take advantage of what is still lower. I hate to keep saying this because it makes it feel that I am not taking people's real concerns, because it is a real concern that interest rates have increased. But
they do.
It is what happens.
The thing. That's the thing that we need to keep reminding people. This is normal. This is going to happen. If you're going to bet on them not increasing, then the risk, just keep using that word, is high. This is how it goes. So people got very comfortable, and we're here to keep you apprised of the difficulties and the dangers.
Right. And just a reminder, as I like to say every once in a while, that renting is 100% interest rate. So if the option is to continue where you're at and rent, and while you're waiting for things to go down, it's almost always a loss. If you're choosing, to do that. But and wait.
All right.
Well, I hope you all have a great weekend. It's the end of June. Gosh. All right. Take care until
Going
next.
faster and faster.
Yeah.
And thanks for tuning in. I am in Bell Buckle, Tennessee, by the way. Not Belt Buckle, Bell Buckle. So
Both sound like an interesting name for a town.
it's really cute though. But
Okay, I'll believe you. All right, until next week. See ya.